Okay. So you have also worked under the National Mission for a Clean Ganga. Please
Yeah,
share with us a little bit about the program and what was your
yeah,
role in it?
yeah. I was associated with this Mission Clean Ganga program for 3 years, and I was unit head. I was team leader and deputy team leader also. And this program is National Mission for Clean Ganga is the world's largest environmental endeavor so far. World's largest, not only India,
Okay. Okay,
and
world
it is
language.
which is the world's largest environmental endeavor, and it aims to rejuvenate or restore River Ganga, and it spans across 118 towns and in 5 states across the stretch of 2,525 kilometers. And the enough work actually the Ganga clearing work has been going on since 1986. Initially, Ganga Action
Right.
Plan
Right. Yes.
first was launched, and thereafter Ganga Action Plan second was launched. Then NGRBA was formed, and thereafter this national mission for clean Ganga. And this river rejuvenation or river restoration is a very very complex work. It is a complex science, and it will take decades to rejuvenate in actual. The definition of rejuvenation is also a complex one. So in many countries, river rejuvenation or river restoration program have been undertaken, but success stories are
Right.
on tips. Little
Oh,
only few success stories like River Marthi in United Kingdom, River Isar in Germany, River Thames, Rhine, and Danube. And some Singapore, we can say it was a great success, Singapore River, and for river restoration in South Korea, and to some extent River Columbia in North America, and Yangtze River. So these are the few stories. Though over 1,000 programs are going on across world, and more than 900 in Europe alone. So worldwide there is a greater understanding, but program because large scale funding is required, and the river restoration involves many sciences like yeah, this riverine ecology, environment, hydrology, civil engineering, social sciences, and fluvial geomorphology. So it is a complex mixture of many sciences, and this is a comparatively new science, and
okay.
many people do not know what is river restoration is all about. In India it has been going on, it has created a good awareness, and success will come. It will take time.
Actually, my next question was based on the same point that you have just mentioned, that river rejuvenation or restoration is not an easy program, right? It may
Yes,
take decades. So
yes,
that's actually
decades.
that's what I wanted to ask. That a lot of initiatives have been undertaken to clean these rivers, but fail to deliver as desired results. So, but however, you have pointed out the reasons behind it. But is the funding and the social sciences the only reason that these projects are delayed for so many years?
No, that just I told you that at many places these programs have been successful. But
Yes,
success is limited because success is also variable. How much percentage of water has been denoted, how much biodiversity has been restored, how much
oh,
navigable the channel has been. So it is
sir.
also a variable thing. No? Success is to some program is a 60% success, 70% success. So and funding in for a developing country like India, it's a a major constant,
Okay,
because
and
this kind of program take enormous amount. It is not that easy. There are several components, and what happens? Many countries they undertake one or two aspect, but it has got say 1 dozen aspect of river restoration measure. 1 dozen aspect, but in some countries one or two aspects are taken. They need to be taken up simultaneously in order to restore fully, to restore the pristine ecology.
okay, and
So, and the program piecemeal approach won't work.
Okay. And
That is
just
the
one.
reason. Yes.
No, no, sir. You go ahead, please.
Just I wanted to say that piecemeal approach is not going to suffice.
Fine.
Piecemeal approach will never yield the desired result.
Right. And just one more question on the same topic. How many more years could it take for Ganga and Yamuna to be restored to its pristine form?
No, it is difficult to answer how much time it would take. It may take uh, because river restoration is a very complex task. River restoration or rejuvenation. The
Ji.
even in India, I think many do not know what is rejuvenation is all about.
Right.
So it is difficult to answer how many, how much time it would take. But
Oh,
my opinion is that it is a lengthy process.
fine.
And
Okay.
it has to be tackled holistically.
Holistically,
And
not ill.
not in piecemeal. Like suppose you are one time you are intercepting and diverting the nalas and creating STP infrastructure, sewage treatment plants. So this is one aspect. Ganga problem is that all glaciers are retreating. How water will come?
Okay.
Its
That's
source will dry up. So at the moment we don't have any program how it would be tackled in future because
oh.
glaciers are retreating. How you would ensure the flow that is required?
And it wasn't anticipated earlier, was it? That
No,
this.
no. Glaciers have been retreating. It is in science, and it has been on record also world over. I've seen. I've been to Europe. I saw their Mount Atlas. Many glaciers are there retreating fast. I see polar
And
ice cap is melting.
that's mostly the impact of global warming, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, definitely.
that's exactly my question. That if we knew about global warming for so many years, then did we not anticipate this problem that the glaciers will now start melting, so it will cause some kind of problem for the rivers?
No, it is in public domain. Na? Actually, carbon dioxide monitoring, global atmospheric CO2 monitoring has been started after 1950. Okay, 56 or other. And it was also all these polluting industries like this oil and gas exploration companies, coal exploration companies. They were knowing this thing that
Okay.
CO2 is the main culprit. But some tried to suppress it.
some
So
some
some vested interest.
some vested
They
interest. Okay.
denied some vested interest tried to suppress the things, suppress the
Fine.
climate. Even you will be surprised that USA withdrew from Paris Accord.
Yeah.
There are many countries who don't believe in. There are a lot of scientists that don't believe in climate change. They don't believe in global warming. What to do?
So,
The
so
science
you
is
are.
there.
Yes,
Science is there. Ample evidences are there.
but so you're saying
I
कि
believe in science.
it's mostly because of some people think that it's a myth. They're still not serious about the issue, right?
No, no. Some people try to suppress it. There are many reasons that is not for discussion, but climate change is there. Ample evidences are there, and climate change has been going on for pretty long.
Okay,
And
just
but in media, it came into limelight after 20s,
after 20s, right?
2000, sorry, 2000. And actually, in my book, first book, I wrote about climate change comprehensively in Healing the Blue Planet.
Fine, sir. So
I was knowing climate change since 1990. In 1986, the IPCC was formed,
yes,
Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC.
I think the first news came somewhere around 1986, or if I
Yeah,
remember
1986,
correctly, yes,
IPCC was formed.
yes.
And
And
I studied in 1990 the climate change, global warming.
जी. So coming back to your book now, this one, Resource Wars, Mapping Global Greed. So, you have mentioned in great detail about the way the natural resources are being replenished and at the rate at which
Uh,
that's happening. So you have mentioned everything from fracking to nuclear emergency to water
yes,
scarcity to biodiversity loss and all. So
yes,
what do
yes.
you think is in the present form, what is the biggest of all the problems?
The biggest problem is that global population increased in last 5 decades. Global population increase has been two times only. Now it is 7.7 billion. But whereas this extraction of materials has increased, has tripled, population doubled, and countries like Australia, they are extracting 100 ton per capita, and many countries that is not sustainable. Many countries are going this way. We are extracting in a whole year we are extracting and consuming the whole planet takes 1 year, whatever resources, and now it is in 1 year what resources we are consuming. Now for planet it takes 1.8 year, 1 year and 8 months. So this is the lag going on.
Fine. So mainly the extraction of resources at this rapid rate is the problem,
Yes,
right?
rapid rate,
Yes.
very, and
Yes.
it is not
Mhm.
going to die down.
Yes.
That is the problem here. That is why I wrote this thing. And every country is greedy.
Yes, you have mentioned it
And all,
in great detail in your book that how many programs are being led by different countries, and such as you have mentioned that CPEC border and the Brahmaputra and the project, the Chinese project on Brahmaputra River itself.
yeah,
That
yeah, yeah.
could you
China is a biggest culprit in matter of China is a resource guzzler, and it's carbon footprint is highest now in 2020. The carbon footprint is highest, and it is the largest polluter, and it has grabbed, it is trying to grab the resources of entire country. Its greed knows no bound. It's BRI project, you might have heard, BRI,
yes,
Belt
yes,
and Road Initiative. Several
yes,
African countries have been brought into that net, that it is causing such a big environmental damage. All BRI, they don't adhere to the environmental norms which are established globally, extant environmental norms,
right,
environmental framework, that they don't adhere to. They are not bothered about environment. And the fishing, kind of fishing. Recently, their fishing vessels were caught in coast of Peru, that is South America. They are
yes,
fishing as far as Peru, South America. They are fishing in North Korea and the whole South China Sea, East China Sea. So this kind of greed is not going to be sustainable. You are one country trying to grab the resources of 58 countries. So
fine. So
how
and
it is very concerning. And CPC has they are wayward. They are wayward. Who will bail the cat?
who will build the
During
cat?
last 4 years, China has lost. US has lost its leadership in the last 4 years. Now world is without leadership, and hope Joe Biden takes over. It will sign. He will sign Paris Accord as well
Yes,
on the very first
and
day.
speaking
On the
of
very first day.
yes, sir. Speaking of Paris Accord,
Yeah.
that since the US will soon be re-entering the agreement, how
Yeah.
important is it for a developing country like India? Whose carbon footprints are lesser than that of the developed Western nations.
No. 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 Actually,
Many critics, but still, sir, obviously they are not as big as those developed countries, right? And we have heard that many critics have also pointed out that India could do much better by focusing on its indigenous way of handling such problems. All we need to do is to look back. Is it right? What's your view on that?
my view is very clear in that. I do agree that India has got lower carbon footprints of around 1.7 ton per capita, whereas countries like USA are having 17 ton per capita.
Right.
But we are the third largest polluter in world. Our gross carbon footprint, our gross CO2 emissions are third largest in world. So because we are having a lot of population, and still we are relying upon this, carbon guzzling, emitting this thermal power. All thermal power, many thermal powers are emitting, and large scale this vehicular fleet vehicles population, and I was surprised that in Delhi the waiting list has started for vehicles. So actually, we are the largest polluter, third largest polluter in world. So it doesn't matter that our per capita carbon footprints are lower. And countries like India, or all countries like China, USA, they need to do something drastic in order to know. Now you will wonder that many might not know the atmospheric CO2, the atmospheric CO2 level that breached 418 pm, 418 ppm parts per million.
Okay.
And in the month of May, when the world was having the lockdown throughout the
Lockdown.
continent, and the carbon dioxide touched all-time high. Though carbon emissions went down 7% to 20%, and to somewhere, say in some countries, it is 30% down. But atmospheric concentration of CO2 reached all-time high in last 30 million years. 30 million years. The concentration was 418 in May 2020.
Oh,
Today it is average 414. What I mean to say, once CO2 is injected, it remains for longer, for plenty of time. And historically, we are not polluter. India is not a historical, responsibility lies with the global north, which were industrialized quite earlier. But in fact, they were also not knowing. In 7050, when the first industrialization took place, people were not knowing about this carbon dioxide and greenhouse effect. Greenhouse effect. So they take the plea, the industrial world, they take the plea. We were not knowing that this is causing this much harm. And the developing countries like India, they are taking the stand that historical responsibility of polluting the atmosphere and reaching this 418 ppm lies with the developed world. So true, we have differentiated responsibility. Developing countries, poor countries, they need to develop, and develop those countries which are developed already, they need to cut carbon footprints, carbon emissions drastically. So that is what the global carbon politics is all about.
fine. And what are
And
all the plans?
we can
Yes,
yes,
sir.
we can shift to say this cleaner technology like wind energy, like solar energy. Both are having good potential in India. So what is the harm in switching over to cleaner technology? We should not
Fine.
rely upon. We are
Yeah.
heavily relying upon carbon. That I have written in my book also. So there is a clear mention of just transition in Paris Accord. Funds will be available next year in Glasgow. The COP26 will take place, and finer modalities will be chalked out to transfer the green climate fund as we created, and many developed countries have contributed to it, and good amount of fund is already there, and finer modalities will be finalized, nuances how to transfer the funds to the developing countries like India, other countries, developing countries. So the developing country need to transfer to cleaner technology, and
New technology.
global funds would be available. It is a matter of political will, and it will create a lot of problems, a lot of jobs also. Recently in last month, UK UK just it was a historical moment, historical decision that by 2030 they will pass out all petrol-driven cars, petrol diesel by 2030.
By
Clear.
2030.
And they have earmarked 4 billion pounds of fund for that. They will create infrastructure for these battery-driven vehicles, and that will create jobs also. So that was history. Yeah. UK has done this thing. We can finalize the deal with UK. In Delhi, what is the problem? You see, what is the problem here of air pollution? How much
That's
vehicles are there?
right. And coming back to air pollution of Delhi, in India, almost every part of the region is facing one or the other kind of environmental related problems. Be it about the bad quality of air or water scarcity, waste management. And while we as a country at one hand show that we are all for such causes, yet on the other we blatantly flout rules, which has been seen in the case of Environmental Impact Assessment 2020 and several other projects also. How should the 21st century India walk its talk on a sustainable future, where the economy and sustainability go hand in hand?
Yes, yes, no doubt. I do agree. We are a developing country. India is a developing country, and it has developmental aspects, and but at the same time, we have signed the Paris Accord. We are the signatory of Paris Accord. We have to cut down the emissions as per our NDC. NDC means nationally determined contributions. So we have to abide by them. So since you are fulfilling, how you will fulfill? You have to cut down your emission levels drastically. Petrol and diesel cars need to be uh, um, sidelined, and hybrid cars, hybrid vehicles, and I would suggest that hydrogen fuel is a promising one, and battery-driven cars can be launched. And it was earlier decided also, but later on retracted. So we need to drastically cut the emissions. There is no other way out. If humanity or planet has to survive, then every country need to. And again, the recently UNEP, United Nations Environmental Program emission gap report, it clearly pointed out that even if we fulfill the pledges as laid down, as enshrined in Paris Accord, world is going to be warmer by 3 degrees centigrade.
Okay.
So even the NDC, which we have pledged in 2015, that needs to be upgraded. Upward revision is required. Though time is not left now. Time is very short. We have to think out of box. So yes, development, but sustainable development should be there. What is the harm if we stop all the thermal power plants? We should get the funds for that. And now newer technologies are coming up, like this mechanical breathing trees. Trees are having mechanical, some mechanically coated disc, and they will absorb the CO2 while flowing through those discs. So these kind of technology are being developed across the world. Carbon capture and storage, it is a promising one. 20 years back, it was thought to be uneconomical, non-feasible. But nowadays, from carbon dioxide is being captured, and the synthetic crude is being made from that carbon dioxide. And CO2 has finds application in many industries, like fertilizer industry, like beverages, like you are having Coca-Cola. The carbon dioxide is finding many applications. So, in addition to emission stopping or reducing the emissions, we need to think out of box, like the carbon capture and storage. We have to absorb, because carbon has gone to 418. Suppose we stop all the vehicle on planet, still the CO2 concentration will not come down.
Okay. So despite that, and
That's why suppose we stop all the vehicle, still just like what happened. Just I narrated that in May 2020, when the entire world was having lockdown, and CO2 concentration reached 418 ppm, and our Earth carrying capacity is only 350 ppm. Ideally it's a 300, but 350 is the upper limit, 350 ppm. So even if we are abiding by the Paris Accord, so things will not improve. So all countries need to revise their NDCs, and if they are revising NDCs, then drastic measures have to be undertaken by every country. And 3 dozen countries have declared climate emergency. Recently, New Zealand declared in the true sense.
In the true sense, as in you said that they declared climate emergency in the true sense. In the true sense,
Yeah.
as in
the true sense means they have simultaneously they have chalked out their NDCs, their programs, that by 2030 they will be carbon neutral, or
Okay.
they have set the program at 2025 only.
2025.
They will be carbon. Yeah. So that is
There
the
are
ambitious one.
SDGs goals as well that talks about that, right? Sustainable Development Goals by United Nations. Yes, that also
No,
includes such programs.
no, NDC is this is the term. NDC is the term enshrined in Paris Accord. Every country has some NDC, some assigned. Nationally, suppose India has committed that by that they will reduce 35% emissions. Some countries have pledged 25%.
Fine.
Some countries are saying, like UK is planning that 2050 they will be carbon neutral.
Okay.
So different countries have taken. It's a voluntary.
It's
voluntary. It is not a. It's a voluntary. It's not legally binding. So, but whatever countries pledge, then I am of the opinion they need to be upgraded now.
Fine.
And December 31st December 2020 was the last date for revising or upgrading their NDCs.
Okay.
But only handful of countries have revised. That is unfortunate. Only handful of countries.
And
though
can you give
Paris Accord was signed by 195 countries.
195 countries, yes.
Yeah. And
yes. No, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
So actually the NDCs were to be revised. Upward revision was warranted, but only a handful countries have done that. So that is a cause of concern. That need to be revised upward, and every country need to set an ambitious target.
Fine.
In order to fight the, we have to keep the world global average temperature below 1.5 degrees centigrade.
1.5 degrees Celsius, yes.
1.5 right. Ideally, otherwise catastrophe will take place.
And given the present circumstances and the steps that Indian government or any government around the world are taking, so what do you see will be the future? What kind of change do you see in the next 10 or say 20 years in the terms of sustainability? Are we doing enough? Are we as a nation doing enough, or what should we do to reach there?
Yeah, India has committed to NDC now. So India is online.
Okay.
India, as their NDCs, they are fulfilling.
Fine.
But just I told a little bit earlier that the fulfilling NDCs are not sufficient.
Okay.
We have to think beyond that.
Okay.
We have to go beyond that.
Could you give us some examples? As in, you just mentioned that we need to think out of the box, right? And you just said that just completing NDC or just going by its rule won't do. So we need to go beyond that. What are those steps? Yes. Could you please explain? Yes.
Yeah. First of all, large scale harnessing of wind power, large scale harnessing of offshore wind power generation, and solar power. This Gujarat is doing absolutely well. They have come out with new policy, solar policy also. So that can be emulated by other states also. So solar power production has to be upgraded, and carbon capture and storage. We need
Carbon
to
capture.
arrest the carbon dioxide from CCS, carbon
Fine.
capture and storage.
And
Earlier,
in
it
what
was thought that it is not possible, but it is not.
and in what form
Yes,
exactly will it be captured? Because I've seen that the carbon is frozen.
carbon
Yes, that one I have seen where the
carbon
carbon is
carbon
frozen.
is captured. Carbon is captured through various means from the atmosphere, and
Fine.
after capturing, it is compressed,
Okay.
and sometimes it is sent underground in the basaltic rock formations or abandoned mines, and
Okay.
abandoned things, no, abandoned fishes in the earth. So that is one way of capturing carbon dioxide, and that is storing it underground. But
Okay.
nowadays, the technologies have improved, and
Right.
that carbon dioxide is being for utilized for now industrial purposes, for industrial processes. So
Okay.
that will be benefit. That will give rise to the huge job creation also. And I am of the opinion that this petrol and diesel vehicle should be stopped within next 1 or 2 years. It is
Oh,
very much essential, or
do you see
especially for the cities like Delhi.
Delhi, a metropolitan city? Do you see it
Yeah,
coming in
metropolitan
India?
Delhi, likes of
Yes.
Delhi.
Do you see it coming? The ban on petrol and diesel vehicle in coming years, in 5 to 10 years. Do you see it coming?
No, it is up to government. What the just like I told you that UK is banning all the petrol and diesel by 2030.
By
Now this is
2030.
they have
That's
given ultimatum,
fine.
because 2030 they will phase out. Not a single vehicle will be there on road. Petrol driven or diesel driven vehicle won't be there by 2030.
Okay.
So many countries are thinking of that in that fashion. So in future we will be having hydrogen driven vehicles, or hybrid could be there, or some battery driven. But
Fine.
I mean to say that people should take, this is all these are the measures by government and etc. But people should take austerity measures that themselves have to do. That people
Okay.
are great power. In
Great.
India, we are 1.4 billion. We have to impose self-imposed discipline. Just
Right.
like for last 7 years, I have not been using my car. For last seven
Okay.
years,
That's
for
a
three
personal,
three
that's
kilo.
a individual step.
So that
That
way, that is this is a self-imposed discipline
yes, on an individual
that
front,
I
right?
will use car. Everybody has to, and they should not waste the water also, because water is going to be a very scarce thing. Water is being
Right.
traded now on Wall Street now. Last
Right.
mid of December, it has
Fine.
been a future trading of water. So what will be the what situation will go? How dire will be the situation? How people will get the basic necessity? So we have to calibrate our action. Every citizen, we have to environmental awareness is a mammoth task. It's a mammoth work, massive
Right.
task. People
Both
should be
individually
sensitized.
and collectively, yes. And
People
since
should be sensitized.
yes, just one more question, the last one. That how would you explain that COVID has affected world's step towards sustainability? How has this pandemic affected it? How badly, you would say?
Actually, COVID was a shock, an environmental shock, and
Yes,
now
right,
we have entered into an era of this pandemic era. Such environmental shock will continue to appear and
okay,
disappear, because of global change, temperature changes, and habitat destruction of wildlife. That habitat destruction, that is the one of the reasons. So it
right,
will COVID gave us a lesson. COVID gave us a lesson. But in Europe, they have sealed this green climate deal, and all their activity will hinge around sustainable development in Europe.
In Europe.
But in many countries, the rescue funds have been allocated, rescue packages have been allocated, but they are not tied to the sustainable development.
Okay.
So countries need to tie up whatever rescue packages they have given. That should be the whatever development should be there. That should be the greener development. They should not invest in fossil fuel. So
Right.
some countries are taking lead in this, particularly European. I deeply admire that. All the 27 countries are giving nod, except say this Poland and Chad. One or two are some exceptions, but ultimately they will have to agree.
Right.
So that way, suppose the entire Europe is going sustainable way after pandemic. Their rescue plans, all the rescue packages, they will hinge around green development. They are tied to this sustainable development. In the same fashion, in the entire world, all the rescue packages should hinge around, should tied up, should be linked to the green development.
Fine. And it
So
cannot be
that
achieved
will be
individually by a single country, right? It needs cooperation, that all the countries in the world need to cooperate together to achieve that sustainable or green future.
yeah. The countries have agreed to cooperate now. That is why Green Climate Fund has been created.
Yes.
So the modalities are going to be finalized very soon. So
Fine.
some sort of funding will be there. Countries like India will get also some fund if they
Okay.
want. Suppose they want to close their thermal power plants, so they will get the fund for just transition. There is a word just transition in Paris Accord. So for
Okay.
that poor countries or developing countries, so the entire world is telling, please switch to the greener options,
Fine. We have
and
a
some
question.
mechanism is there.
We've got a question that how do we make the subject interesting for lay people? How do we make them environment conscious citizens?
The environment cost is that is I told no that mammoth work is there. And in Western the global north, a huge awareness has been there. That I can say because I interact with many people. But in developing countries like and many countries, people are not care.
Okay, right.
People are not caring. So all the like NGOs, individuals like myself, I'm doing I'm investing my time, I'm investing my resources, I'm writing on Facebook, I've created fan page, Instagram, Twitter, and so many places. I go for various platforms, I give interviews at many forums. So that way everybody can suppose somebody is working in some office, so one should take place that I will greenify 100 persons this year.
Okay.
Next year I will greenify 1000. So we people, we should make aware all the fellow citizens. That is the only way out.
Actually, the question is same that people don't find this subject of environment interesting because they think
Interest.
that how is it gonna impact
No,
me? How
environment.
will it affect me?
No.
People,
Environment is very interesting. Environment. It is hinging your life. But this is environmental pandemic. COVID was your environmental problem
yeah, but
because
that's what the question is, sir. That how do we make it in, because not everyone understands that environment is looking after environment is so important. Not everyone understands it.
no,
So how
yeah,
do we make
that
it
is true.
interesting
Yeah,
for people?
yeah. Actually, people like you are right that the subject environment itself is not that interesting. पीपल अब लोग हैं, लोगों का क्या कर सकते हैं, टिकटॉक में उनको डांस पसंद है, टिकटॉकियंस पसंद है, वो ऐसा तो नहीं है, दैट इज नॉट दैट इंटरेस्टिंग. So but we have to make it interesting that people, we have to make it realize that uh, that it is going to affect your life. You know, how people are suffering, the typhoons are occurring, the tornadoes are occurring, and they're killing lakhs of people around the world. flash floods are going on. Somewhere drought is going on. So we have to convince people that it will affect you. And this climate change is a creeping problem. It's not a direct problem. And that is why it is not on the priority radar of many governments, because it's a creeping problem.
Okay.
It's
Yes.
not a direct problem. COVID was a direct problem, but slow. It will take time. I am not saying that everybody. So we are having 144 crore population, 141, and everybody will be environmentally green. His thinking will be green. No, not like that. It will take decades. But one should do. Many people should come forward. Every as an aware citizen, as a responsible citizen, it is duty of all of us. All citizens need to do that. We should make it interesting. We should talk it. We should narrate the anecdotes, stories to make it more interesting. We should relate with the personal lives also. So it is a sometimes it is your storytelling. Your storytelling abilities must be there. How can you narrate the things? Thankfully, just I have amassed over 20,000 people on my page. So just I did some some labor, and some missionary zeal was there.
Okay.
I'm writing books for the last so many years. What is that?
Fine. Just because, yes, you are aware
So
of
in
the.
that fashion, yeah, just to make aware the global citizen about climate change and how it will be going to affect you. It is a our problem. It is a question of our lives, our posterity. It is a question of our posterity. It is a question of whole humanity.
Right.
Sixth extinction is nearing if we don't mend our ways, and it is very pathetic. And even people take it for granted. क्या कह रहे यार देखा जाएगा बहुत अभी लंबी बात नो लंबी नहीं है it has started its colors. And I tell you that be it global south or global north, be it developing country or developed, everybody would be punished by the mother nature. Nobody shall be spared. And there is no room for complacency. I have seen many people, they say that we are living in a developed world, it will impact us later. No, it is not like that. UK, Europe will be impacted in other words. The global warming there Gulf Stream. So that cycle, that belt, conveyor belt would be impacted, and the entire the Europe will freeze. Not
Yes,
only it will increase the temperature, somewhere
yes,
it will be freezing cold.
have its
So
own
that is
problem.
what climate change is all about.
Right. Okay, Mr. Bane, it
So
was an
I mean to say,
interesting. Yes.
no, so no one should be complacent. It will affect equally. Yes, the quantum can be it can vary place to place, but
Right.
everybody would be impacted. The entire planet would be impacted. So right now, I heartily wish that everybody should change its ways. It should calibrate its action towards mother nature, and try to inculcate the environmental feeling, environmental thinking, or especially in younger ones. It is a question of our survival. It is a question of survival of our planet.
Keeping that thought in mind and your advice, it was an interesting session, and thank you so much for being here today. Now we'll like to conclude
Thank you.
it. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you everybody.